We warmly welcome audiences joining us online and on-site today. We hope you will find the event we have prepared for you to be fruitful and engaging. Indonesia's rapid transformation from a rural to urban economy has served as one of the benchmarks for the country's massive growth potential, while simultaneously underscoring several challenges it needs to confront. Jakarta, like several other Indonesian cities, is undergoing the transition to a smart city, then has also launched the Jakarta Smart City program in 2014 as a part of the regional government's efforts to increase living standards and ensure sustainable resource management. Let's find out more about it on today's event that we'll be having Smart City, Smart Future, the future of urban planning. But before we begin, we have a social media quiz for the audience. And the question for today is, which of the following is not an essential element of creating a smart city? Is it smart people, smart governance, smart economy, or smart goals? You might type in your answer at any time during this session. The lucky one who can guess the answer correctly will get a live shout out from us by the end of this event. Don't forget to do that because we really like to get everyone actively involved in this event. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and take at America's Instagram account. And now, without further ado, allow me to invite our moderators for today's session. She is a sustainable activist and technology catalyst, Batilma Komaling. The stage is yours.
Hello, hi everyone. It's so good to be back again in At America. It's been a long journey. We have been away for quite some time, and so this is like quite heartening, just see all your faces here, especially also you joining online. And today we have the very first the very first session of the series of Smart City, and now I'm just going deep into it. We will have the two distinguished speaker for Smart City, Smart Future. This topic is about the future of urban planning. And I welcome Alexander Song, the Adjunct Assistant Professor of Public Service, New York University, Robert F. Wagner Graduate School of Public Service. I'm going to speak out a bit about him. So he is the subject matter expert in managing the intersection of governments and startups to drive growth and impact. And he also co-launched the US Conference of Mayors Smart Cities Institute. And he developed municipal urban tech accelerators to engage hundreds of startups in policy challenges from connectivity to cybersecurity. And now he is also the Chief Product Technology Officer and CEO of Digital Services Planet Smart City from 2021 to this year, 2022. So welcome. Yeah. So welcome, Alex. Good morning to you. I'm sure that this is around like 5 o'clock in the morning. We will hear from you a bit about your experience and also your findings throughout your journey of research and also working. And we can maybe have it as a reference for our beloved city of Jakarta. And we will have another distinguished speaker, Ibu Rika Zikria, the head of marketing and communication unit, Jakarta Smart City. She is graduated from management and governance in MA in sustainability, Murdoch University, Australia. And she is also the certified public-private partnership professional training level execution in 2020. She was the former planner at the National Development Planning Agency. And now, of course, she is the head of marketing and communication unit of Jakarta Smart City, the provincial government of Jakarta. I'm sure you all curious and want to know more about the issues around urban planning, specifically in maybe New York, in a couple of cities in the US, and also in Jakarta. So for the first round, I will give it to Mr. Alexander Sarmansong. Oh, maybe we still cannot hear your voice. Is it still muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear now.
Great. Good. Well, it's wonderful to be here. I'm so excited to join you and share a little bit of what's going on in the U.S. Here we are in New York City. This is actually my neighborhood, Lower Manhattan on Wall Street. And as you look at what smart cities are around the world, there's many different definitions of smart city as there are cities. And each place in the world, big or small, has its own take on how to harness new technologies and new data to make cities work better for residents, businesses, and the families that are the future of our world. So let me share with you a few examples. So what is a smart city? The moderators asked me to start here, but I thought I would change the question and say, what is a dumb city? What is a dumb city? So a dumb city is one that wastes. It wastes your time. It wastes your potential. It wastes the efforts of its workers. It wastes its taxpayers. And traffic is one of the most notorious and obvious ways that we waste people's time. In the US, we spend billions of dollars of time stuck in traffic. And when you look at ways that we can speed it up, there are so many that it's just dumb that we're stuck in traffic like this. But as you think about it, it's not just your car traffic. Interactions with government are so often dependent on you waiting online, on you filling out form after form after form. And it's just a waste. Dumb cities put you at risk. Dumb cities don't understand where the risks are and manage those. And as a result, you as a resident, you as a citizen, face things that you shouldn't have to face in life. To give you an example from New York, this goes back a ways, but until the 1990s, the US in New York in particular did not use any data in policing. It meant that the cops went out where the police always went out every day, based on political lines and based on history. Starting in the 1990s, New York was the first city to put data into policing and send cops where the crimes are. At the time, radical idea. Put the police where the bad guys are. And what they find? We found that we had a 90% reduction in violence over the course of my lifetime here in New York. 90%. Third, dumb cities are in denial. They just deny the trash piling up on the sidewalks. They deny the smell that comes from that trash. And there are so many ways that cities around the world are still dumb and denying the facts in front of us and managing by anecdotes rather than by data. To give you an example, when you look at biking around the world, biking has this hugely beneficial environmental impact. It makes a big difference on traffic. Yet around the world, women are only 1/3 as likely to bike as men. Yet, as we all know, women make up half the world. So until we confront a fact like that, how do we change it? In the US, we have 15% of Americans drop out of high school. 15%. What does that mean about our education system? And a mayor or a city leader that is denying that is just dumb. The minimum wage is less than a living wage, meaning that many people who work in hard in jobs still rely on charity to get by. 37 million Americans can't afford their homes. When we deny these things, we make our cities dumb. And so the question then is, how do you change that? And why does smart, Why is smart technology the way to change that? Well, let me tell you a few reasons why smart data is the way to make our cities run better. So one, it's fundamentally about engaging citizens. And here's an example from a Canadian company called Helpful Places. They have a taxonomy, an approach that they're licensing to help any IoT provider make their technology more engaging for citizens. It shows you as a resident what that technology, what those cameras, sensors, and others are doing around you. And it allows you as a citizen to have a voice in the deployment and a voice in how that technology collects data from you to make your city better. So this is Helpful Places. And so it begins with engaging people, engaging our citizens. Smart cities put privacy front and center. Here's a New York company, Numina, and they've deployed thousands of street sensors in New York and in other cities around the U.S. And the street sensors, as street sensors do, they tell you what's going on. Are there cars? Are there buses? Are there pedestrians? Where's their traffic? Where's their danger? What's different, though, about Numina is they have privacy designed in from the very beginning. There is no personal identifiable data. All there is all the computing happens at the edge in this little device, and then only aggregate data gets uploaded to the cloud. And as a result, as an individual, you control your own data. Third, a smart city, it puts equity center. So here's a very famous chart that's used continually around the US. In the bottom, you can see this is what equality is. Everyone gets the same bicycle. But as you can see, not everyone can use the same bicycle. You might be too little, too big. So just giving people the same thing, equality, does not actually create the results we want. The smart city meets people where they are, equity. If you're taller, you get a bigger bike. If you're smaller, you get a smaller bike. The purpose here is to create mobility, not to give everyone a bike, but to let people get where they need to go, equity. And fourth, I want to talk about enabled employees. And in New York, we have 350,000 people working for our government. 350,000 people work for New York City government. And until we enable them to use their full creativity and their full commitment on the job, we're not actually a smart city. This chart comes from the first ever guide on how to create a smart city culture that I just released with Harvard University a few weeks ago. And there are 9 steps that you need to take. I put a link here so you can go in. And there are ways to start and make data part of your leadership, part of your budgeting and communications, and to make it part of your hiring, your promotions, your incentives. And these are the ways that we enable our employees and get the most out of our taxpayer dollars and out of the wonderful creativity of people who work in and with government. So how do you actually get started? So in the US, we've been at this journey for a while. I mentioned the CompStat policing from the 1990s. In some ways, the data transformation of cities really started first in the 1970s with the first performance management system. And you can even go back 100 years to the beginning of budgeting and using data to make financial decisions in cities. But really, the explosion of technology in the last 10 years has fundamentally changed what it means to be a city leader and what it means to work in a city. And it's just starting to change what it means to live in a city. So let me tell you, how do you actually get started on that transformation? So one, it starts with leadership. It starts with leadership. So here in the US, we've created a Mayor's Leadership Institute on smart cities. And we train mayors one-on-one, city by city, on how do you use data? How do you use technology? How do you deploy it in a way that's actually going to make your city work better for your residents and your constituents. So you got to start at the top, and we need to create a resource that's available for all city leaders to understand in their own role, how do they use data and how do they unlock this amazing potential. Second, it takes partners. Government alone cannot do smart. Here's a wonderful company from Chicago called Marketplace.city. Marketplace makes it easy for any city anywhere to find the right partners in the entrepreneurial community for whatever problem you're facing. The great thing about Marketplace.city is this is available to anyone in the world. This is not limited to US cities. And in fact, many of the challenges that cities face around the world are similar. So I encourage you, take a look at Marketplace.city. There are so many resources that you can use that have been tested and proven by other cities that it can solve traffic, waste, procurement, you name it, there are solutions here. Third piece for getting started, you need training. One of the amazing programs that we have in the US, it's now expanded to Latin America, and in the coming years, it will expand to Asia, is the Bloomberg What Works Cities. Mike Bloomberg was mayor of New York for 12 years. He's best known for running Bloomberg LP, the data terminals that have transformed finance over the last 40 years. And as mayor of New York, he introduced data into so much of what we do. Now, his organization trains and certifies people up and down the ranks in cities. The frontline worker who's trimming the trees, the supervisor who's determining where the trash routes go. And as cities embrace data, they actually get certified on how well they use data. We have two cities, Los Angeles and then Louisville, Kentucky, which is an amazing mid-sized city that is probably, surprisingly enough, the #1 data leader in the country around city use. And there's a number of cities, here's just a snapshot of ones that have achieved gold status, like Chattanooga, it's a small city, and it is the most digitally connected city in the US, the best and cheapest internet anywhere in the US. So training is a key point, and it needs to be up and down all the ranks in the city. Now, here's the last step for getting started. You got to focus on what real people really need. So back in the day, Clark Kent used to go into the phone booths and change into Superman. And we had phone booths on every corner in the city. But at a certain point, people had cell phones and they didn't need the phone booths anymore. So when Mike Bloomberg was mayor, he asked companies, what would you do with the phone booths? We have tens of thousands of phone booths all throughout the city. What would you do with them? And it turned out this consortium of companies called Link NYC came up solving a whole bunch of problems that people really need. We need access to data. These stations operate as Wi-Fi broadband beacons, and they saturate the area around them. Anyone who lives or works near a Link station has free high-quality broadband. They operate as charging terminals. Because as you're running around the city, your battery can run down, and any of these will charge your phone. They also operate as emergency information points, so you can call the cops or access help. And then it's fun. They have advertisements on the side, which both advertise things that you might want to use, like a Lyft car or Lyft bike, and also just fun facts about the city. But what's so important here is that it wasn't just the idea of reusing phone booths. It was around solving real problems for real people in a way that makes life significantly better. So when you're getting started, you have to focus on what real people really need. So with that, I want to thank you for the chance to address you. I'm going to look forward to questions, and I've shared my contact information here. You can reach me on Twitter at alex@shermansong, or you can email me directly, shermansong@nyu.edu. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shermansong. Let's just give a round applause for the presentation. I like the fact that you started with the antidote of a smart city. It's the dump city. So it's never occurs to me that you can actually, when you think it that way, then people start to think what are the efficient way of doing things in the city. So maybe this is like also an eye opener on how to understand smart city better. It's not just only for government officials, but also for us as the citizens of any cities in the world, practically. So, and let's continue with a local context. We will invite Ibu Rika to have a say and also a bit about a presentation about what has been done in Jakarta. Ibu Rika, the place and time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Dilma. Hello, good afternoon, or maybe good morning, Dr. Alexander Sermansangs, and good afternoon to Ms. Dilma Komaling and also all distinguished participants this afternoon. So on behalf of the Jakarta Smart City, I would like to convey my gratitude for the invitations to this webinar. So probably I can start with my presentations. Can we move to the next slide? Hello, can we move to the next slide, please? Bu Tilma, my presentation already. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, okay, thank you. So when you're talking about the city development, we also need to talk about the city evolutions. The journey of smart city development can be divided into 4 generations. The first generations of smart city is a city which carries out daily activities on a business as usual basis. The second generations is a city that views technology as the mainstream in smart city development. For example, by adding technology-based apps or command centers as milestones. The third generations of smart city is a city that manage technologies as part of the enabler. In this case, the city government has tried to initiate smart city development initiative using user-centered approaches. Although the city government has involved its citizens in urban planning decisions making, still the government acts as the sole caretakers of cities that have to respond to all the citizens' needs in that city. So it brings us to the fourth generations of smart city, which means the city that involving the citizens and other communities or stakeholders in collaborations or cooperations in building the city. It involves the public and also the private sectors on how to manage the partnerships, the business and the government's models together. We see citizens can make great collaborators and co-creators. In other words, the city government is no longer seen as the sole caretakers of cities that have to understand and respond to the needs of the citizens. Next slide, please. So there are many ways to explain a smart city, as Mr. Alex already mentioned before. If you ask people from various digital companies or service providers, they will say something about what they thought regarding utilizing the new technology options, such as developing a smart parking, smart home, smart lighting, and anything that relates to emerging technologies. Some people also strive for an economic impact. There are people also saying that smart city is all about the quality of life, and others says the smart city is what makes the sustainable cities. But actually, there's no certain consensus of what is smart cities. But one thing that we could all agree that every city is unique. It has its own marks and branding, and each one of them has their own values. And this value thrives to be a city they've imagined about. That what is actually a smart city means to every city. So in our case, we are transforming Jakarta. We want Jakarta to be a smart city that is very innovative as a city, and also a city that can make all the citizens that live inside that city to be happy, to be a happy citizens, to achieve the happiness of its citizens. Next slide, please. So the concept of Smart City 4.0 that Jakarta developed, it aims to improve the active participations and engagement of city co-creators, such as city stakeholders and residents, in order to building a better Jakarta. By making sure the city grows along with its citizens, the city government has changed the gear, turning Jakarta into a more collaborative place for the citizens, the academics, communities, social organizations, startups, media, businesses, and other governments. We realized that fruitful collaborations among all the stakeholders related to the city development will not be sustained without sustainability and supportive ecosystems. Then Jakarta Smart City come into the spotlight. So Jakarta Smart City envisions to be the catalyst to create a smart city 4.0 ecosystems in the capital city of Jakarta. We act as the innovation hub, the matchmaker for the citizens as the co-creators, to the government as the collaborators. Through various emerging technologies and innovations, such as utilizations of big data, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud systems, and blockchains, Jakarta Smart City acts as a bridge for the citizens and the government in addressing the city problems and also in fulfilling all the citizen needs. So by the end of the day, we can ensure the happiness of the citizens can be achieved by the innovative solutions that provided by the city and also the governments. Next slide, please. So if we see the current conditions in Jakarta within the last 2 years, we all have facing major changes in urban development and digital transformations due to pandemics. However, when we see the bad sides of these pandemics, alongside all the problems it brought, it also poses us to many opportunities to be seized. For example, in transport sectors, there's a change in mobility patterns. There's also a change of interactions patterns where now contactless and virtual interactions becoming really popular among us. And our activities patterns has also changed with the new freedom in time and space for people in doing their activities or businesses. Next, please. In relations to the opportunities that is there for us, in Jakarta, we have several responses that prepared by the government of Jakarta. So the first one is we're trying to redefining the city planning in Jakarta. We also try to do a prototyping future Jakarta, and also we try to upgrading public services from Jakarta government. Next slide, please. For in redefining the city planning, we are trying to normalize the cross sectors collaborations. So we put the development focus by strengthening participation and collaboration among all the related stakeholders, particularly the citizens. As Dr. Alex mentions before, that participations of the citizens to explore what actually their need in the development will really help the government to provide the better solutions to citizens' needs. So, for example, we have like by performing the participative planning when developing community parks throughout Jakarta. So we try to engage the community nearby the locations so they can convey their aspirations for the development of the parks. So when the parks is already built, it will in line with what actually people needs around that surrounding area. So for the other example is to carry out the collaborative action planning in kampung area and promoting large-scale social collaborations, what we call the KSBB program. So this is actually a program where we provide a platform where stakeholders can collect a fund or any social support and channeling it directly to the one who need it. So up to now, we have several sectors of this KSBB program, such as for supporting the SMEs, to give like employment, housings, and also education support among the stakeholders. Next slide, please. The other programs is we also try to prototype future Jakarta by conduct several projects, such as initiating pilot district of transit-oriented development. The collaborative development scheme for these programs, including the government acts as a regulator, and the MRT Jakarta or the transport provider act as a master developer of those points, and landowner along the public transport network as a co-developer. So we hope with these collaborations between stakeholders, the transit-oriented development along the public transport network can be carried out with more effective and more efficient. Next slide, please. Another program is the implementations of low emission zones in Kota Tua area with the objectives of reducing the emissions, promoting the environment to be more sustainable, and also to support the utilizations of low emission vehicle to support mobility in Jakarta. We make this place as a pilot project for implementing the low emission zone. But after several projects that carried out by the government, we aim to copy this project into several other locations. Next slide, please. So another program is also the implementations of we try to facilitate the cyclists around Jakarta by adding more permanent and also pop-up bike lane throughout Jakarta. We also try to provide bike sharing spot, particularly in transit area or in the stations of the public transport network. And also we try to allocate space for bike parking and promoting pop-up cycling zones, particularly in holiday. Usually we have like several pop-up cycling zones in Sunday morning throughout Jakarta area. Next slide, please. Our government also try to develop more multi-purpose green open spaces here in Jakarta. We try to create more green open space around Jakarta area that serves as a retention ponds and also can work as an open spaces for citizens throughout Jakarta. So we try to make one place that can be functions as different purposes in order to give more what we call it like open space for people to do a socialization, but also they have some purpose for environment sector as well. Next slide, please. And this is also our next program is modernizing kampung while preserving the values. So this is a pioneer project to transform an overcrowded kampung through vertical and consolidation method, and also to implement the participatory planning where the person that used to live there are actively involved throughout the process of redevelop the area. So the plan includes modern neighborhood amenities that uplift the livelihood of the residents, and also to create an innovative designs that can accommodate the traditional interaction pattern between the citizens, but also to put more innovative and innovations and also the digital technology into that area as well. Next slide, please. The other program that we have is upgrading public services. One of example for this project is done by some simplifying construction permits throughout Jakarta. So in existing condition, the durations of permit to be issued, it will take people about a year to having that permits to be issued. But then by putting the simplification process and also digitalizations to the process, it will be expected to only cost people 57 days compared to the 360 days previously. Next slide, please. And our other programs is to enhance public services by expanding free internet access for all the citizens that we call the program is Jak Wi-Fi. Now we currently have more than 9,000 spots of new public Wi-Fi, which are accessible for free in public places, including school buildings, the government buildings, parks, community centers, and also the place where the citizens live, the dense populated area. We also put the Jak Wi-Fi services for them, so that all the Jakarta citizens can have the same access to free Wi-Fi that can help them to improve their opportunity to leverage their lives through digital transformations. I think this is the last slide of my presentations. Looking forward for more fruitful discussions with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ibu Rika, on a bit about the updates of what has Jakarta Smart City been doing in our beloved city of Jakarta. I think I'm going to change a bit of the vibe here because I'm kind of seeing this as a now I'm kind of seeing this visual of having a binoculars. The right one is kind of seeing New York as an one of the example of smart city and what we can learn from it, and the other part is Jakarta. So I just want to ask for the two speakers, and I'll also invite all of you who's joining in online to give questions to the two speakers through the social media, through Zoom, to Facebook, and also Twitter. And we're going to get the question and ask it directly. So yeah, for the two speakers, Dr. Alexander and Ibu Rika, just want to maybe just give a comment because I think we kind of see like the same a bit message here because Dr. Alexander, you mentioned about smart cities practically like not just a concept, but you also mentioned it as a culture. As a culture that needs to be developed in terms of how to make life significantly better. So that's practically like just the main objective of it. And also, Ibu Rika was stating that Jakarta has been transforming from just like from one-sided, top-down, and then it's kind of grow into a more collaborative concept. Now, even the people is the co-creator of smart city. So I just want to hear from both sides of you. What do you think of? Maybe Ibu Rika can comment on the idea of what Dr. Alexander presenting about New York, and also the other way around, Dr. Alexander to give like some sort of comments and your response on Jakarta. Maybe we start from New York first to Jakarta.
Great. Well, it was a wonderful presentation. Really heartening to see what you're doing, and so I did a couple takeaways for me. One is I just find it amazing that the issues that you're facing in Jakarta are so similar to the issues we have here in New York, and that cities around the world, we're all grappling with the same quality of life, the same efficiency, the same economic opportunity issues as other cities. So there's a huge amount we can learn from each other. I think that there's ways that things that we do in New York that are relevant to Jakarta and vice versa. So when I look at your presentation, I think some of the lessons for U.S. cities from Jakarta is how systematic your approach is. You've really thought through so many layers of both the technology and the culture, and you've applied it in really practical ways. I love the free Wi-Fi, because if you don't have data, like how are you participating in a smart city? So I love that. I love the nuances of your transportation plan, both addressing the traffic, addressing the sustainability, and then also the fundamental shifts in how people move, the end of origin destination. That's just fascinating. So it's very heartening to see what you're doing. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration, government to government, as well as on the private sector side, to take approaches that work, whether it's in Jakarta to New York or vice versa, and to learn from each other.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. And now, Ibu Rika, your turn.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Alexander, for your point of view of what I already present by what actually government of Jakarta already doing. But actually, when I go back to what Ms. Dilma talking like, you see the similarity between Jakarta and New York regarding smart city development, because actually probably if we talk about smart city, the focus should be on the people and how to engage those people to participate more in the development. It's actually also in line with the presentations of Dr. Alexander regarding how to engage the community, how to engage the people, how to what do you call it, like how to mapping what actually their needs, and how governments can overcome all the problems that the citizens have. So basically, we have the same perceptions regarding the problems, the solutions that the government needs to give to the citizens. it has to be based on the real problems, real people, real solutions to make their life easier, to make their life better, to make their life more sustainable and smarter in the end of the day. But it from your presentation, it's really interesting because sometimes when we're talking about the smart city concept, usually here in Jakarta, we always start from what they call it, like from the theoretical background of the problems. So we try to review from the papers or from the journals what actually needs to be done to develop the smart city. But actually, from your presentations, I also can see we of course we need some theoretical background to do some planning or some to develop some project or programs. But actually, we all the most important things is to see what actually the problem is, what actually the people needs, what needs to be done by the government to solve of the problems that happens in the citizens level. Because from the citizen point of view, it doesn't matter how good your how good your what we call it, like how cool your theory regarding the development of smart city. But if you cannot solve the problems that happens in the citizens level, then it doesn't matter for them. It's not that what they call it, like it's not solutive for them. But if you can answer all the problems that they have, all the development can um, deal with the things that needs to be done in the citizens level, then it's the most important things in urban development and smart city development.
Oh, just 100%. And one of the things that's so heartening about your approach is I think you're avoiding the biggest pitfall, which is focusing on technology for the sake of technology. You remember, like 5 years ago, it was autonomous vehicles. And it was autonomous vehicles, they're going to solve the traffic, they'll solve everything. We just need autonomous vehicles. And you know what? It didn't. We still have traffic. And then 3 years ago, it was drones, right? And if we just have drones, then we'll be able to monitor things and we'll be able to fix things remotely, and it'll just make cities operate so much better. And you know what? We have drones, and we still have the same problems. And then last year, it was crypto, right? And it was cities and countries issuing cryptocurrencies and looking at blockchains. And of course, now that crashed this week, and we still have the issues around traffic and crime and economic opportunity. And so I just so heartened by the approach that you're taking, which is really focusing on real needs of real people, and then understanding like what are the equity elements of how do you help people, whether outside government or inside government, participate in the huge potential of data. Very heartening, and it's great to see what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I'm really glad that the questions kind of complement to each other in the terms of the answer. What I see, what is great from your answers, both are both of you believes the fact that smart city is not about only the tech or infrastructure. It's practically it's for the people. It's like a human-centered design, right? For the people. But then people change. Well, of course, we always say like the next generation will face so many problems, especially with environment and also lack of resources and all those. So I'm curious from your sides, what are the challenges? So I'm sure you have been both doing this specifically for Ibu Rika in transportation, and maybe Dr. Alexander is more on the policy side, but you also have worked with startups and also how to engage the private sector to the public administrations and how to collaborate amongst it. But I also want this to, because I think there are many young people who's the audience of At America here. And what are the challenges, basically? What are the, the future would be like for them? Is there any dreams that you think that this young people can build upon your starting point. So maybe that will be it, like the challenges, and also a bit about, I think sometimes smart city is a bit broad. It's more to the concept, and also it's like the homework of the government. It's not much about the the people. But now you're saying this is like, no, this is like a co-creation. This is like, this for you. It's about you, and we want to build it upon you. So, what are like the maybe like another eye opener, or just kind of opening the awareness for young people to understand that this is something that they maybe appeal to work on in the future? Maybe Ibu Rika first. Go ahead, Bu.
Okay, thank you, Bu Filma. Okay, exactly as what you said, Bu, because probably previously when we talk about development, and also when we talk about like how to put smart city, what smart city concept into the development, usually people think that it is only what they call it, like government businesses. It's not the citizens' responsibility to solve the problems that related to the city. But actually, it's not like that. Now we need to do everything with the collaborations. We need to work together, because as a government, we now realize that we cannot do everything by ourselves, because we don't have the capacity, we don't have the budget, we don't have the people to do all, to solve all the problems by ourselves, by the government itself. But we need to collaborate with other stakeholders. We need, let's say, for example, we need to collaborate with the academy, with all the people from universities, or from the university, to create the concepts on how the cities, the smart city concepts that we want to build in the futures. We can also talk with the businesses how to funded all the development that's need to be done to achieving that smart city development. And we can also talk with the citizens in how to improve the quality of life of the citizens, what actually they want to improve, what actually they need to be improved. So that's why we need to collaborate with all the stakeholders related to the city when we talk right now how to develop the cities. And also, if we talk about the challenges, of course, probably the first challenge is how can we map the stakeholders that relate to the development, and how to engage those stakeholders to include in the development. Because um, if the government said that we need to collaborate with the stakeholders, but then the stakeholders doesn't really want to engage, it also will pose a problems. So that's why we need to start to make a communication, to start to make a collaboration, so with all the stakeholders, and try to let them to realize that they are also part of the cities, and they can, every stakeholders will have some not responsibility, but some part to build the city. So if we can build the city together, then of course the result of the city development will be better, and will be more in line with actually the real needs of this city.
And building on what you're saying, one of the biggest challenges of smart cities today is low expectations. That people don't expect traffic to be solved. People don't expect it to be easy to get around or safe. People don't expect government to be efficient. People don't expect our problems to be solved. We need to dream. We need to dream. And we need to then
I agree with
experiment.
that.
Yeah, dream big. Start experimenting. Try it. Just try things. And then once you try things, you can start building. You know what? 99% of the technology that we use in cities today was not built by people in government. 99% of the technology came from dreamers outside government with ideas. whether you're talking about Uber, whether you're talking about uh, uh, education systems, these ideas are dreamed up by people like you. And you try it, you experiment, and the things that work, those are the things that we build. And you know what? Just because you're saying smart city, it doesn't actually mean that you have to sell to government. One of the amazing things about where we are today in the development of cities and the development of technology is the democratization of the chance to be a city leader and to solve these problems. Anyone, inside or outside government, can come up with a solution that works. And whether or not you're actually selling to government, look at government as a partner. Think about, how do you create a product that solves a real problem for real people and at the same time makes your city better? And if you have those two goals, solve real problems for real people, make your city better, government is going to be your partner, and it's going to help your company grow, and it's going to help you have the type of impact you want to have. So dream big, start experimenting, build, and look at government as a partner. And whatever you do, don't lower your expectations.
I think for that answer, for both of you, need a great applause from the audience here. I hope you can hear all the enthusiasm. But we do get the enthusiasm for you guys that is tuning on online as well. We have so many questions, so I hope you two, the two speakers, has still the energy to also inspire more and more young people, well, young or old. Thank you for all the questions. I will take the first one, Kina. Kina asked from the Instagram, what aspects that differentiate a smart city from other cities? So I think this will, I think this this will be suitable for Ibu Rika. What aspects that differentiate a smart city from other, like, just, I guess, dumb city? We shouldn't call
think
it that way though, but yeah.
quick questions. Basically, what aspects differentiate what the city? Basically, if we talk about city, as I mentioned earlier in my presentations, that we will have a different approach. Every city is unique. Every city has its own problems, and also every cities also have its own resources to solve those problems. When you mentions about what differentiate cities related to development of smart city, basically we need to go back and to look at those cities, the characteristic of the cities, what is the problems, what the solutions that you want to develop, and what dreams, what big dreams that you want to achieve. It will differentiate what one smart city from another. And if you talking about what the difference between if one programs can be a success compared to the one that cannot, it also lays on the what they call the leadership, I guess, the leaderships of the governments in how they approach to develop the solutions to all the problems in the city.
Can I just add on to that? You know, for young people who might not remember or have experienced the life before smartphones, let me give you guys a chance to experience it. So there's a browser called DuckDuckGo, right? DuckDuckGo. And what's amazing about DuckDuckGo is it's a privacy-based browser. So try it. Look at DuckDuckGo as your search engine or your browser. And it's privacy. So what does that mean? It means it doesn't know who you are.
Mm.
It doesn't personalize. It's not smart. And so when you try that, yes, you protect your privacy, but then you realize all the little ways that Google Chrome or Google Search or these other smart browsers and smart searches actually know a huge amount about you and make your life better. And so when we think about a smart city, let's think about a city that, yes, it respects your privacy like DuckDuckGo, but it also understands your needs and helps you achieve your potential the way that AI and Google Chrome are making it so much easier in everyday life. So give it a try, give DuckDuckGo a try, and then you'll see where cities are today and where we need to get to.
That's a great quiz for all the audiences to check on after the talk. Thank you for the answer, and I really love all the question coming in. The second one will be from Dimas. I love this one. He asked, when is a smart city effective? So another level. Maybe Dr. Alexander, you can get on that, Alexander, about what is the parameters? I think what are the indicators of a smart city being effective?
It's a great question.
I know.
And I think part of the difficulty that a lot of us see around smart cities is we see just how much can be smartified and how much data systems are needed, how much infrastructure, how many layers of technology are needed. And it's daunting. It's daunting. And so I would say a smart city is effective when you can tell when your interaction with government is better, when your experience getting from here to there is less trafficked, when you feel safer, when your city is helping you get a better education, when it's helping you get a better job. That's when a smart city is effective. If our cities are great places to live and work and play, then they're getting a little smarter. And it's going to be those little interactions day by day that make your life smart and your city smart.
I'll give also the opportunity to Ibu Rika to also get give her perspective about this. Like when is smart city effective? I think also one of the example that I know by heart, and I'm a big fan and campaigner on this on the Smart Citizen app for Jackie. Maybe you can just give your view on that. Is it what are what are the effective measure on smart city from your experience and maybe your thought on this?
Probably it's already covered beautifully from Dr. Alexander regarding what actually a measurement of the effective smart city. But probably to summarize, so basically, I think the effective smart city is when all the problems that all the city problems can be solved and all the citizen needs can be fulfilled by the government. So of course, there is a level in those solving. I mean the solve and also the fulfillment of the citizen needs. But basically, if governments already can answer all the problems of the city and also already can fulfill the needs of the citizen, I think it's we already can say that the city is already effective as a smart city. But back to what Ms. Tilma mentions about the super apps, our super apps, Jaki, Jakarta Kini. So basically, the development of the super apps is also what they call it, like based on we want to make all the services, the government services, more effective and more efficient. So basically, when we develop these applications, all the features in these applications, we try to map the problems that that there is in the citizen. So the problems from the citizen, the problems that what they call it, like when we have a problems of the services that provided by the governments, we try to mapping all that into the programs, and also we try to create the features in Jaki super apps to solve those problems. So basically, by developing the Jaki, our super apps, we also try to solve the problems that happens in the citizens by making it easier for them to access the government services. And we also try to solve the needs of the citizen through that application. So hopefully now and later, that Jaki will also be the effective super apps, the effective smart city super apps that Jakarta have. And we are always trying to make Jaki better every day in order to fulfill all the needs of the citizens.
Thank you, Ibu Rika. And I just want to give you a minute of appreciation actually because I use that one when we do the booster vaccination. And as what Dr. Alexander was saying, smart city is practically the city knows you. And through this app, this is a personal experience. Through this app, like the city knows when you are due for your next booster vaccination, and the city knows where exactly that you can get it and on what time and when, and then exactly they know who you are. So then yeah, maybe that's also one. This is not technical, but if we see that this is like the idea was to kind of make people happier or happiness in the city, then I'm one big happy smart citizen, Ibu Rika, on that side. Right. So continuing on the question, this is Gianna from the Twitter. I think this can be from both of you, for both of you. How can I design a framework that works best for my smart city project? Interesting. How can I design a framework that works best for my smart city project? Dr. Alex, you would like to go first?
Sure. So I think that there's a couple things you can look at that actually not smart city focused, that are just around how do you deploy technology effectively? How do you create new products? And so I would point to two things. One is user-centered design or human-centered design. IDEO,
Yeah.
IDEO is the company that really popularized this approach around the world, and they have a huge number of free resources on their website for people who are looking to become savvier about human-centered design. So that's IDEO.com. And then there's the wonderful expansion of lean and agile around the world. And this is around how do you create an idea and with the minimal amount of waste, prove it out and get it out there to where it's actually solving real needs for real people. And so in terms of lean, I think that there's no better place to start than the Lean Startup by Eric Ries, Ries, which is just a wonderful practical book if you're new to lean on how you apply these concepts in technology experimentation. So I think those are two things that are good for really any project, which would be human-centered design and the lean agile approach. In terms of government in particular, I'd say just don't forget the people. Don't forget the people. And however you're going about things, make sure that your citizens, your residents, your constituents actually have what they need to use your technology effectively. And make sure that your employees, your workforce, have the skills they need and the incentives they need to use the technology. So if you're looking for a framework there, we created the leadership guide, the city leadership guide for culture innovation that was just released from Harvard a few weeks ago. And as I mentioned, we have 9 steps that you can use as a framework for creating that culture around your technology product. So there's a few resources for you, and I can share the links with the organizers to push out there after this.
Thank you
or
so
you can
much.
ping me on Twitter, and I'll send you some links.
Before you're giving your thoughts on this part, Burika, I would just also give a shout out to everyone who's here in the studio, whomever want to have a question, please do raise your hands, and of course you can ask directly. So yeah, your say, framework that works in any smart city project.
Okay, actually everything already mentioned by Dr. Alexander. Actually, I also note some of your suggestions regarding that. So it will help us to develop and to also to expand our framework. But if probably I can I can give comments about this, probably as already mentioned by Dr. Alex. You really need to focus on what your target is. You need to really focus on who actually
Benefits
um,
for the yeah.
who will benefit from your programs. So basically, to know who actually wants, who the one that you want to help, it will also make what we call it, like, make the focus will be more clearer. And also after that, don't forget to always map all the stakeholders related, and maps the problems that they have, and put innovative and technology as the tools to help you in achieving all the targets that you already have.
Thank you, Ibu Rika. And I think because we only have 19 minutes left, but I really want to cover all. So I just continue on the next question from Kenji. Kenji asked on Twitter, which business models work for smart cities? So I think it's quite broad, but is there any experience that you had faced, maybe Dr. Alexander, like what is the workable business models practically for smart city engagement?
It's a great question, and I think the answer depends a little bit on which side you're coming from.
Mhm.
Are you coming from the city side, or are you coming from the entrepreneur side? Uh, on the city side, there are a lot of established ways to budget for things, and the question is, you have to focus not just on that initial installation or creation. You have to make sure that you're looking at the total cost of ownership. Uh, and so whether that's taxation, fees, or other ways of accessing third-party payers, whether that's data monetization, and others, there's a lot of strategies on the city side. On the entrepreneur side, I think it gets a lot more interesting.
Right.
So I always tell entrepreneurs, if you're looking at a smart city solution and you're trying to create something here, start with a direct-to-consumer approach. Like, look at a B2C or B2B approach where you're actually selling into the private sector. You can have a lot more opportunity to experiment. And when you find your product market fit, you're going to be able to scale much faster. And look at government more as a partner than your first customer. Look at government as the one that can help you understand the problems and understand what people need and work with you to get your solutions out there to market. So the things that scale the fastest are the direct to consumer, are the business models that go to businesses. And then once you have some traction, then you can look at government as a customer, as a way to diversify your revenue and to scale more. In terms of solutions, I think we're past the age where things are given away for free in return for scooping up your data. People are smarter than that now. We expect some level of privacy and security. So having just a data monetization strategy is going to be a little harder to do nowadays. But if you have a good SaaS product, a consumer fee can be really low if you can scale it effectively. And so again, I would look at ways that you can get right to your customer, whether that's an individual or a business, and then look at the ways that your product supports the government's policies, so the government can be your partner in growth.
Thank you for the answer. I hope, Kenji, that has answered your question, but I'm sure there's like, it depends on the angle or how you see it, and also on what lenses that you use for seeing a business model. And we have a question here from the studio. Please, can you please say your name and as well to whom would you like to speak to?
Hi there, my name's James. My question is directed to Dr. Alexander. So, Dr. Alexander, on a personal note, or at least in your own experience, how would you describe the reaction of the residents of New York to the many changes and technologies added to the development of New York as a smart city?
Gosh, well, it's very mixed. There's some things that people love, and there's some things that people hate. So, policing, for example, I think people love the 90% reduction in crime. People feel safer walking around. Women go out by themselves, even at night. I mean, that's a huge improvement. At the same time, the data that we've used in policing have just continued the racial biases that police had before. And so the challenge with a lot of the AI is that if your data are biased, then your AI is going to be biased. And so people hate that the data-driven policing has continued and in some ways accentuated those racial inequities. On the transportation side, I think people love knowing when the train's going to come, knowing how long it's going to take. Those are great, and those make it so much easier to get around. With the link, I think people love the access to broadband. They're a little concerned about the privacy issues and how much government knows about them. There's still, I'd say there's still so much unmet appetite, right? There's still just so many ways that our government is either wasting our time or denying the facts or putting us at risk that people are fed up with. And we're looking for smarter cities, smarter life, and we're looking for ways to address affordable housing and quality schools and good jobs. And thus far, there have been so many great innovations around this space, but there's still so much potential. So I'd say that overall, there's a number of things that people have liked. There's a lot of concerns about privacy and equity issues and who benefits from the technology. And but I think we're a lot more aware now. So for example, just starting next year, any company that's using AI in hiring is going to have to disclose how that AI affects who they pick, right? And how they're addressing gender equity in their hiring with any of their algorithms, how they're addressing racial equity in their hiring with any of their algorithms. So I think that's promising, and that we're starting to see ways to bring our basic human values into the technology around us.
Okay, so a lot of
I
more,
could,
yeah, a lot more
I would
transparency.
say, yeah, there's the big turning point actually. There were two turning points for us here in New York. So one is the racial unrest that a lot of cities have had over the last 4 years. Black Lives Matter is a positive way to put it, but there's a lot of systemic racism that imbues our systems and our technologies, and that's woken people up to that data doesn't always solve it. Sometimes it just keeps the bad stuff going. The other wake-up call was actually around Amazon, and this is about 5-6 years ago. Amazon was expanding and looking for an East Coast headquarters, right, on this side of the country, and they picked New York, and New York was they were going to build a big new headquarters in New York, and there was concern around who was going to get those jobs, right? Does everyone in New York have access to those jobs, or just well-educated white people? And it really woke people up to who's benefiting from technology and how do we make technology work for everyone, right? Technology is a promise, and we're only going to live up to that promise if we hold the innovators and the creators of it to the values that we share around a sustainable, equitable city.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alexander. You answered that perfectly.
Thank you for asking a question out loud. I think that also the same question as one audience we have in Instagram, Melian, to answer almost the same question about what is the adaptation, like how do people from New York actually accepting changes through the technology from smart city. So is there any more questions from the studio? No, not yet, but you can always raise your hand. Okay, continuing, I will use the 10 minutes last to answer this quite specific question. From Instagram. This one is from Naomi. Naomi asks, what are common mistakes with smart city projects? I am a big believer of no mistakes, no progress. So, but again, I think we need to learn about it, and maybe Ibu Rika, you can just give a pick of about what you have experienced. Oh, I hope she's coming back though. So maybe Dr. Alexander, about what are the common mistakes of smart city projects? I can see like from the audiences, they are all keen on working in a smart city project. So your thoughts?
So there are a number of pitfalls. We've all woken up to the privacy concerns, right? And privacy is, I think privacy can be, making a mistake around that can be a wonderful impetus for growth. When you look at how Chicago has deployed IoT sensors throughout the city to monitor air quality and water quality and traffic across the board, it started out raising a huge amount of privacy concerns. And you know what they did? They embraced those privacy concerns and educated people in lots of different neighborhoods, including a number of low-income neighborhoods, on how to evaluate and understand the technology. So it actually led to a much better embrace of it. Another common mistake that we make at the outset is not recognizing the real barriers that people have to use technology. So it's all well and good to have mobility as a service and transit on demand. But if you don't have affordable data on your phone, you don't have access to it. Or if you don't even have a smartphone, then how are you using it? And so you got to meet people where they are. If people don't have smartphones, text message based technologies.
SMS based.
If people don't have electricity, you got to address some of the off grid options, and whether that's battery or local generation. So you got to meet people right where they are. And then I'd say third, like plan for success.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't be surprised if it works and not know what to do. Like plan for it to work. Think about how you're going to scale. Think about what happens when people love it and how you make it a big thing and how you take it from city to city and country to country. Because the wonderful promise of these technologies is that they can scale. And that if you have a business model that's sustainable and that drives growth, you have a chance to change the world.
Starting from one city to another. So I would like just to say thank you for all the questions, and as well from Zooms. We have Honey and Sylvia, but it's already answered on the chat box. If you still have any follow-up questions, maybe you can have it in chat or more. But I'm just curious. I would like to give this 7 minutes really matter. From your side, Dr. Alexander, I know that we speak about the dream, about the future, and we spoke about the challenges, and also the fact that you trying, kind of give us more inspiration about what the future will be like and how can we, the young people also involved on this. But in terms of your experience working with the government, because I know that you also mentioned more about the knowledge and the trainings and also how the government understand about what datas are needed for their policy makings and also how to kind of make impacts to people live in their area. Is there anything that you kind of find interesting and in terms of the process? Because I know that nothing is instant, right? In terms of process and how you see policy actually make, does it make any difference in terms of if you change the policy? Because I know policy is one thing and technology is another thing and collaboration is another thing. It's like so many ingredients to a good smart city program. So your thoughts?
Yeah, so if you're in government and you're serious about smart cities, you got to get the right people into government, right? And if your agency looks like a typical U.S. agency, where I would actually be on the young side, then you probably don't have the right people on the bus to drive the changes that you're looking for. So you got to find a way to open your doors to young people, high school, college, people in their 20s. You have to make government an easy place to work for a year or two as people are on a journey and they're going from one job to the next every couple years. So open it up. Let people who are good at data, let people who know Python, let people who are on crypto, let them into government. Let them experiment. Let them work with your transportation ministers. Let them work with your sanitation. Let them work with your police. Let them work with your tax departments and solve problems with them. So I'd say you need to open those doors and you need to let people in to be part of the data transformation. When you let those people in, you'll see a lot of things happen. Their ideas are going to rub off on your other employees. They can be your go-to people for making changes. They have a network of friends and colleagues outside government who can be partners in driving change. So I would say whether you want to call these data science fellows, whether you want to have a code academy every summer for college students in government, whether it's challenges and you want to let people create solutions and test them out with agencies, you have to find a way to let that talent in. And you need to focus beyond just a hackathon. You need to focus beyond just an announcement. You need to focus on the continual experimentation and the perseverance, the grit to get these technologies to work for real people. And that takes time.
Yeah.
And the first idea you have out of the box, one thing I can tell you about it, it's probably the wrong idea, right? Fail fast.
With so many
Try
mistakes
that idea.
to learn
from it. And stick with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to use the 3 minutes that we have left here to give you the opportunity. Unfortunately, Ibu Rika is off. But just what are your closing statements? Because we've learned a bit about the smart city as a culture from you, and also about, um, basically smart city is not about the data, infrastructure, and tech only, but it's about engaging people, and it's about data privacy, and also about equity. So it's more human than we thought, right? So your last statements for the audience here, Dr. Alexander?
Sure. Yeah, you're not alone. Everyone in the world is grappling with these questions. And whether there's specific technologies you're interested in, specific urban challenges you're interested in, there are people around the world grappling with these. Whether it's a Discord group, whether it's on Twitter, you can find people in cities all over the world who can be your partners, who can be push your thinking, help you try things, help you learn from other places. So I'd say, remember, you're not alone. Connect to people in other neighborhoods, in other cities, in other countries. Learn from them, share your best ideas, and realize that across the world, urbanization is the most amazing demographic force that's happening. And it's a chance that you have, that we all have, to come together as people, as humans, to learn from each other, to push each other to be better, and to make our cities the places that we want to live, that we want to work, that we want to play, that we want to bring our families up in. So you're not alone. We're here in this together, and it's a great time to be a citizen of a city.
Thank you for the wisdom and also your thought. Welcome again, Ibu Rika, and it's about the time for you to give the last statements for all the audience online, and also the audience in the studio about your thought. We learned about the structure of smart city from Jakarta, and also about the innovation that you have brought up, more than just infrastructure, but also about the infrastructure itself on making people more happier, and also how to make people more have the ownership of Jakarta. But your last statements maybe
Yes.
about
I'm
to the
The bad
Jakarta
connection.
Smart Citizens?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I'm really sorry about the problems with the technical and technological problems that I faced earlier. So basically, from my side, I just want to more focused on the collaboration. So let's work together, let's think together, let's plan together, and let's try to solve all the problems related to smart city and to the development and urbanizations together, because probably we cannot solve one by one. But if we work together, if we collaborate, if we coordinate, if we cooperate, then hopefully we can face all the problems and all the challenges. We can overcome it together. I think that's all from my side. Thank you, Bu.
Thank you. Before we give you both a round of applause, I just want to close this with a statement from Ibu Rika stating, I remember in the presentation, also in the question and answer, you say that every problem in the city can be solved. So I think that should be like our foundation was working about smart city. And this is like the first of the series of talks for smart city. We will have it again the next Friday about technology. And the next Friday will be on the 20th of May and also on the 27th of May about the environment. So let's give a big round of applause to Dr. Alexander Sermansong and Rika Zikria. Thank you so much. And my name is Tilma Komaling, signing off. I'll see you again Friday, the same time.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Alexander. Thank you, Mr. Ma. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
All right, thank you so much to our speakers along with our moderator for today's informative session. We hope everyone enjoyed the session and found it valuable as well. So earlier in this event, we asked the audience a question, and the question was, which of the following is not an essential element of creating a smart city? And the correct answer to that is D, smart goals. Shout out to today's lucky one, Chacha Yarologia from Facebook for answering correctly. Thank you so much to everyone who has participated, and don't forget to tune in next time and catch a chance to get a live shout out from us. And now, do you want to develop more brilliant ideas with a platform like this? It's easy as ABC. You can simply go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, select create an event, and go to collaborate with us. All given proposals will be reviewed and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter if you find yourself enjoying this event so you can stay updated with our upcoming event as well. Follow us on our social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ATAmerica for interesting contents, giveaways, and so much more. Also, click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that, it is time to say farewell. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Hasna. See you on the next At America event. Bye-bye, everybody.